What's going on, everybody? In this video, I want to go over with you the real reason why most salespeople are plateauing. If you didn't know, the sales industry actually has like 4 times the turnover rate than any other industry that's out there. A lot of people start in sales, figure out that they can't make it, and then they end up quitting. There's usually an exact reason why a lot of people make it to that top 1% sales leader position. Most other people just kind of churn their wheels. They spend all day in and out at the office making sales calls and consuming an insane amount of videos and books, and for some reason they can just never figure it out, right? So I want to do in this video is shortcut you to what makes a top salesperson who they are and why every single time they switch to a company or do something different, they can always replicate that success that they had in one company or one industry over to the other. If you notice that a lot of sales trainings that exist in the general public are a lot of the same things. They're talking about how to handle objections, how to inflect your tonality, all these different skill traits, which learning those skills and becoming better at sales is extremely important to make it to that top percentile. But have you ever been in a position where you said like, hey, I'm actually a lot better at selling than that guy over there, but for some reason he's always outpacing my numbers, he's always putting up more than me. And what exactly is that person doing? Or how come every time I try to copy what they're doing, it just doesn't work? So like I mentioned earlier, I've been in sales, outbound sales specifically, sales management, training sales teams for over 10 years. The other 99% never figure out, right? Now, I want to mention that this 1% is not out earning you and not working you because they're better than you at handling objections, or it's not because they're better than you at inflecting their tonality. The real reason they're doing so much better is because they're treating their sales career like an actual business. And so running a business requires systems that are easy to understand, execute, and replicate. And this is where most salespeople are going completely wrong. So what I want you to do is think of an actual machine, right? And the way a machine typically works is you have multiple little gears in the machine. So let's say this machine has 6 gears in it, right? And as this gear spins, it affects this one and it causes this one to spin over here. So in order to get that machine to function properly, all of those gears have to be working in harmony, right? What happens if only one of these gears is broken and stops churning? The rest of the gears no longer work as well. So just by looking at the machine, we can say, hey, that gear is actually broken. It's not working and we need to replace the part. And as soon as we replace the part in it, it all of a sudden starts working again, right? So anytime a salesperson has ever came to me and said, hey, Joey, I'm just not hitting the numbers that I want to hit, or I have a big goal ahead of myself and I just want to be sure I can do everything I can to possibly make it happen, the first thing I say is, well, let's take apart your sales machine. And here is where everybody is virtually going wrong, is people are not treating their sales career like a machine or something that they can actually improve upon. I might say somebody will show me your numbers. How many calls have you done this month? And out of all those calls that you're doing, how many of them have produced quality leads? And from all those quality leads, how many of them have booked appointments? And from those appointments, how many of them have showed? And from the ones that showed, how many of them have you closed? And from the people that you have closed, how many of them have referred clients to you? So it's almost impossible to figure out like, hey, this is the gear that's broken your machine. So I want to move over to the whiteboard just really quickly so I can kind of break this down for you guys a bit more. The sales machine is really comprised of 6 different parts. So the first thing is the volume. So this is how much you're putting into your sales machine. So the first part of your sales machine is the actual volume that you're putting into it, right? And the second gear in your sales machine is the amount of qualified leads that you get from that. The third part is the amount of appointments you book. The fourth is how many showed. The fifth is how many you sold. And the sixth is average referral per client. Let's say hypothetically for last month, you made 1,000 cold calls. So that's how much went in to the front of your machine, 1,000. That's the volume that we put in. From that, let's say that you noticed that you had 50 qualified leads. And from those 50 qualified leads, you're able to book 15 appointments. And from those 15 appointments, 3 of them showed, 1 of them closed, and he sent 0 referrals. So what we can do is we can say, hey, this month I only had 1 sale. My goal is to get to 5 sales. So what a lot of traditional sales trainings will do is they'll say, hey, you need to get better at handling objections, or you need to get better at getting your appointments to show. But no matter how much training your sales leader, no matter how much training you give your sales rep, you can just never seem to break them over that hump. And the reason is a lot of the training that we're putting together and doing is just complete guesswork, right? Because I might say like, hey, what it is I'm not closing enough people. But when you go ahead and look at your machine, you can notice that, hey, 3 people showed and 1 closed. That's actually pretty good. So if I'm doing a bunch of trainings on how to get better at closing, it's kind of a big waste of my time because I'm already closing at a high percentage, right? So the next thing we might go and say is, maybe I booked 15 appointments and only 3 showed. Well, that might cause a red flag. And you can say, hey, how come so little of your people are showing, right? If we can get your shows from 3 up to 9, now all of a sudden that's going to result in 3 sales instead of 1, right? And getting more people to show up to your appointments just might be as simple as adding in automatic appointment reminders. You can download some apps on your phone that will text your clients their appointment times, really low cost, or if you want to manually do it yourself, but maybe that's all you're missing. Maybe you're just not reminding people, hey, you have an appointment coming up in 24 hours. Hey, your appointment's coming up in 1 hour. I look forward to chatting with you. Hey, I'm gonna give you a call in 5 minutes. A lot of people, I look at their sales process and they're just not even reminding their appointments that they have times coming up at all. So barely anybody showing. And we can be sitting here doing so many trainings on how to handle objections or closing techniques. And all you simply need to do is just text people that their appointments are coming up, right? This is the point of this video. A lot of people are not tracking their sales process correctly. If we are able to track our sales process correctly like this, it's always going to be these 6 processes that we need to pay attention to in any sales industry, whether you're selling cars, you're selling insurance, you're selling cruises, you're selling gym memberships, whatever it is, it's going to be this exact same process. This is the outbound sales system that people need to follow. And I can guarantee that most people who are not hitting the results that they want to hit are not even tracking this. So they have no idea what's working and what's not. They're just consuming random trainings, trying to copy what their neighbors are doing, their coworkers are doing. And no matter what they try, they just can't figure it out. And the honest, real reason is you're not tracking your system enough. And you could have one simple tweak to do to get you to that next level, like just simply sending appointment reminders to people, right? And from there, we can start to reverse engineer. Hey, if I'm getting 3 sales this month and my goal is to get to 10, well, then what I should really, and let's say all of these things are ideal, what I can also say is let's just boost our calls up. Is there a way that we can get to 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 calls instead of 1,000? For example, I worked in insurance for a while and they allowed us to hire people that were virtual assistants or something along those lines to help make phone calls for me, which could, increase the amount of volume that's going into the front end. So something that I would do if I was starting in any sales industry from the get-go is I would say, hey, how many appointments, based on my show rate, etc., how many appointments do I need to set in order to hit the amount of sales that I want to do? So if, let's say, hypothetically, I wanted to get to 20 sales this month. So my goal is 20 sales. I would say, okay, what's my close rate? So if I need to get 20 sales, how many people do I need to get to show to an appointment in order to accomplish that? So let's say I close at 50%, right? That means I need to get 40 people to show to appointments, 40 shows, right? And if I can get 40 shows, I know as a byproduct, because of how I close, that's going to result in 20 sales. Well, if I need 40 shows, how many actual appointments do I need to book? And let's say it's 50%. So that means I need to book 80 appointments, right? And I know as a byproduct, if I book 80 appointments, 40 of them are going to show, which means that 20 of them are going to close, right? And if I know that about my system, I know my show rate, my appointment setting rate, and my close rate, it makes it a lot easier to reverse your sales goals. Now, what I would do is, let's say you're trying to hit this in a month. What I would then say is like, hey, let's try to set 3 appointments a day. So every single day going into work in the morning, rather than saying, hey, I'm going to do 100 calls today, or I'm going to do 200 calls today, because a lot of times that's, you can bust out 100 calls or 200 calls. You can endlessly just slam calls and get 0 appointments booked, right? And yes, you hit your goal for the day of 100 calls, but you have no appointments. So you're going to get no sales. So rather I would say, hey, if we can just set 3 appointments a day, Let's say we can get 3 a day times 30 days, you're going to be at 90 appointments. And if I'm at 90 appointments and they're all quality appointments, it's not just some BS appointment that I'm setting just for the heck of it, but an actual qualified real appointment, and I'm setting those text reminders and I'm making sure that they're going to attend the call and I'm giving them any pre-framed information or education that they need, and that person shows up and I can close at a 50% rate, I know that if I set 3 appointments a day, I'm going to hit my goal of 20 sales for that month. So what I would do is at the beginning of each month, I would keep a little notebook with me. So let's say it will be the month of September. I would go 1, 2, 3. I would basically label this all the way 1 through 80. Let's say ... and let's say over here is 80. And every single time I set an appointment, I would put an X. And I would say, hey, for the day that I set my 3 appointments. Because, you know, there's at that point, if your goal is to set those 3 appointments and you know you have a 50% show and a 50% close, you're going to hit your goal. But the issue is that most people are not tracking the amount of volume that they're doing. They're not tracking their appointment show percentage. They're not tracking their closing rates. They're completely disorganized sales teams and salespeople. So because you're disorganized, all of your trainings are based on guesswork. You think, hey, I need to be closing better. I need to be better at handling objections. I need to focus on inflecting my tonality better. But no matter how much you try or how many different variations you test out or how many of your different colleagues you try to copy and mimic, you just can't hit your goals. And the main reason is because you're not actually focusing on what matters, right? At the end of the day, you could do all the objection handle training that you want, but it could just be as simple as sending appointment reminders to your appointments that gets you to that higher appointment show rate that you're looking for. So this is supposed to be a quick video. If you want more information, you can join my free community. I have a free community on School. That link will be anywhere on my profiles or anywhere at the bottom of this video.